What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Encrypted Connections. I am your host, Kyle, and next to me, over there, is
Yeah.
the incomparable, the esteemed, the 146-year-old wizard of the Soggy Bottom, the mustache himself, Dewey the Deucer Edwards. How
Howdy,
are
everybody.
you? What's up, man?
I don't know.
How's your
That's all
shoulder?
I don't know. Shoulders, it's a lot better. I put it on ice last night. It's a lot better. So
Oh, that's good.
I'll survive this one.
That's good. We can't have, the Stitch Witch is the honeydew list long right now with Dewey's shoulder out of commission, or is she going easy on you?
Are you talking to the Stitch Witch?
Well, I'm asking both of you. Is
Oh.
her list long right now, or is she going easy on you?
Not too bad. I'm catching up with it.
Okay.
I try to help her all I can in the embroidery shop, and I try to stay busy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. All right. Good to know. Stitch Witch, I think I think what he was just saying is he needs more stuff to do. So add to that list for me. I'm kidding. Let the man rest, damn it. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I hope your week is starting out lovely with so much wonderfulness and goodness and, all that happy horse doo-doo. Who's Kyle fighting with this week on the show? And hopefully nobody. That was a one-time deal. Has that ever happened on the show? I never fought with anybody on the show before. Listen, I don't call it a fight. It wasn't a fight. It was a misunderstanding. People are passionate about
a difference of opinion.
Difference of opinion. People are passionate about this stuff. That's one thing we understand about these communities is that this stuff is not something people get into lightly. They love this shit, right? Like you do this because you love it. You watch these shows because you love it. No one's kind of half-heartedly into Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal stuff. Everybody who's into this loves this stuff.
Yeah, everybody's passionate about it.
Yeah, you get passionate about it. People get, and sometimes it's hard to for people don't get challenged, I think, often enough. Like I think it's just one of these things where people just go, somebody says something and then people go, oh, okay, and that's just not who I am. Like if I don't believe something or agree with it, like I'm not going to be a dick, but I'm going to say like, yeah, I just don't, it's not me. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's, and I just didn't, that whole thing with the MK thing. I just thought it was kind of, wasn't for me. And so we didn't agree. No big deal. So no fight this week, Joe, but if you'd like to get in the ring, and take some aggression out, me and you can go toe to toe for a little while. might end up bad for both of us. I feel like we both would probably just do a number on each other. Anyway, let's get this show started. One of the things that you guys obviously know is I'm a New Englander. This area to me is very special. I grew up here, and so I focus a lot on this area because it's where I'm from. And the folklore and the history here hits home. And so anytime that I get to find another person who is from the area and into this stuff, it's always very exciting for me. Obviously linking up with Alex and Brian was just great. And Mike, those guys are wonderful. And, but I found somebody else who is from this area, who is into this stuff and who does so much research in one of my favorite places on the globe, the Bridgewater Triangle. So tonight, everybody, please welcome Phill from the YouTube channel Exploring with Phill. What up, bro?
Not much, Kyle. Dewey, how are you boys?
Doing good.
Very good, very good. Yeah, pleasure and an honor. I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime I can talk Bridgewater Triangle and talk to another New Englander, of course, is always a good day. So,
amen, brother.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Especially like you said, we were talking a little bit before on air, and we're just talking about how there's not really a lot of people that are, there's people in the paranormal, but to find someone that you connect with that's also into the paranormal in your area, like out of all my real friends, normal life friends that are non-paranormal friends, I don't think some of them are like partially into the paranormal, but like casually, you know what I mean? So they'll watch my videos, they'll support me, but they're not really interested in me talking about pukwudgies or where I think they come from, or you know what I mean. Like it's just very basic level. So to have meet someone just like you guys and talk about these things is a great opportunity and always a lot of fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, man. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, people, and like we were saying, it's one of these things. You have to be passionate about this, man. It's not like this. You don't do this half-heartedly. You just can't. And you know, when you're from an area, you have those roots there and a connection to that area, regardless, right? Like I don't like Connecticut. That's where I'm from. I don't like it. It's not. It's just not for me. But there's things about this area that I love. And the history of New England, I love, right? This is one of or the oldest settled place in America. You know, this is where it all started, was here. And so the paranormal side of things here, like high, super high, you know, when you talk about bloody battles and unrest and all this stuff, like it's all here, the witch trials, all that stuff. So we're fortunate in that aspect that we do have a lot of places here that we can go and investigate and research. And one of those is the Bridgewater Triangle, which is to a lot of people, you know, every year that place is on like a top 10 list as one of the most spooky, crazy, haunted places in America. And for good reason. So you, well, let's start at the beginning. You said you started a YouTube channel about 3 years ago, but before the YouTube channel, were you doing this stuff like by yourself?
No, really. I didn't start like my first investigation I ever really did, like real investigation, asking EVP questions, all that stuff, was probably a month or two before I started the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I always was interested in the paranormal. Like I was a big fan of ghost hunters, unsolved mysteries, the paranormal episodes and stuff like that. So I was a big fan of the paranormal growing up. And growing up, obviously, up until Ghost Hunters, there really wasn't a lot of ghost shows and things out there to like consume. As far as like legitimate, obviously, there's a lot of fringe stuff, but there really wasn't a lot out there. And then as soon as that show came out, I was like, holy moly, there's people actually investigating this and like going out there and like getting evidence. And so that's what really, I mean, that show for sure really piqued my interest even to another level. And then I would say after that, yeah, then I did that first investigation. Once I did that first investigation, then I was like, you know what, I could do this. And then, you know, kind of started off from there. No, it's kind of weird with the YouTube channel because it kind of started as Randonautica rather than just strictly paranormal. Because at the time, it was 2021 when I first started my channel. And Randonautica was just at the height of Randonautica. So I was like, I kept on seeing all these sensationalized YouTube videos and being like, well, what's really going on? Is this app really evil, taking people to evil things? Is there some sort of darker thing here? So I was like, well, why don't I take this app, use it in a haunted location, use words like paranormal, pukwudgie, spirit, ghost, whatever, and then use it in these haunted locations and see what would happen. And so that's kind of... Go ahead.
Real quick, can you explain for people who don't know what Randonautica is? Can you just give a brief explanation of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Randonautica is an app that you download on your phone. It became popular in the year 2020 when basically what it is, I'll tell you what the app is. It's just a random number generator, essentially, where it uses a quantum computer somewhere in Australia. And so you open up the app, and it's basically an explore app. That's what they pitch it as. It's go out there and explore. So basically what you do is you open up the app, you have an intention, and your intention is whatever you want to find. So let's just say you want to find a cat. So your intention is cat, you visualize cat, you push a button on the app, and then it'll give you a coordinate within the radius that you set. And then allegedly it'll give you, I think that the creator of the app said it will give you a 10% better chance at finding whatever you're looking for, but better chance than random, than just, you know, taking a dart and throwing it at a map. Sure. You know what I mean? So that's basically what the app is. And so it became famous in 2020 because a group of kids had the intention of death, and they open up Randonautica, and it takes them to the side of a lake or something, right? And next to the lake is a suitcase. Inside that suitcase, 2 dead bodies. So that's where the app became famous and kind of got its like I guess bad vibes or bad things from it. And I mean, that's a real story that did happen. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird? So it's like like I said, it takes your intention and then uses a quantum computer, and then kind of takes that over and sends that, and that's how you get. Yeah, it's weird. It's
I
definitely
never
weird.
knew that story. I didn't know about that story.
Yeah. So that's a real story. That really did happen. You can look it up. It's in Seattle, Washington, where it happened.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've watched videos on Randonautica and like even recently, and most of them are dark. Like it's like people being followed, and like it leads them to this like crazy road in the middle of nowhere, and then they get there and they find these like clues and books, and I'm like, how is this working? Like, but I think probably. Hey, how are you, Stitch Witch?
Hi, y'all.
How you doing, honey?
I'm doing great.
Oh,
y'all look superb.
Oh, well, thank you.
You look marvelous.
Thank you very much. You look damn good yourself.
Come on with yourself.
Yeah. Cute.
So I think a lot of it now though is probably scripted, man. I mean,
dude, 95% of what you're seeing out there is faked. 100%.
Yeah.
As a person that did Randonautica, there were a few occasions where I would say more synchronicities more than anything, one time I would say the most interesting thing that happened when I used Randonautica was my intention was something strange, and it took me to a spot in a park where a woman had her back turned towards me, and she was like touching a tree. And then, which I thought was weird. I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's touching the tree. I don't know what she's doing. And so then she leaves. I kind of go in another area, come back, and I kind of go over to the tree where she was at. And at the base of the tree was like this bowl of like fruit or whatever, which was like, seemed to me like an offering or something. So this lady was like touching the tree. I don't know, praying or something. I don't know what she was doing, meditating, something. I don't know. And then when I get back through, there's like a bowl of fruit there. Now, maybe it's some sort of religion I don't know about or whatever, but just strange. I mean, it was something strange, so it was my intention. So,
that's strange, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, like I don't think I don't think it'll take you, for the most part, take you to a dead body necessarily all the time. So.
We talked about this when we were talking on Messenger. Is like one of the things that I appreciate, and the people that I watch are the people who aren't sensationalizing things and making stuff up. Like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, paranormal, I think, if you're in the right area, right, if there's a history of stuff going on in a certain place, I think with the paranormal, you have a higher chance of getting evidence if you're using the right equipment. With the cryptid stuff, it's completely like playing the lottery. Like 90% of the time you are not getting doo-doo. Like you're out there trying, and if something happens, then man, it's amazing. If nothing happens, then this is kind of the way shit goes. So people, I think, are led to believe something different, though, that like you just go out and then this stuff is just everywhere all the time, and people are making friends with Bigfoot and shaking hands with aliens, and like that's not the reality of this shit, man. It's just not.
No.
But I do think that the paranormal is a little bit different, especially with the tech now, right? We were talking about how I want so badly to go to the Triangle and do an EST session. Like I've wanted to do this for a long time. With like spirit boxes, and then people will argue about those too. I even sometimes think like there may be a little bit of bleed over from like the radio stations sometimes, but there's other times where it's like you just can't deny what if you're asking a question and you get an answer that goes directly to that question. It's like how can you deny that?
Absolutely.
And so anyway, let's get back to the Triangle now. So what was your first investigation there? What were you aiming to like look for when you went in the very first time?
So I would say the first Bridgewater Triangle place I investigated was definitely the Huckamuck Swamp. And I would say it's what's really strange about the first time I went there, because this is like legitimately the first time I ever went there ever. just the vibes of the place immediately as soon as you get there. I
Oh my
remember.
God.
Oh yeah, I remember walking down the main pathway, and this is the area where I've done a lot. It's actually the base circuit trailhead, I believe it's where it is on the map. For those people want to look it up. So when you first get there, you park, and then there's like a little bit of a pathway that's wooded on both sides, and then it opens up, and then you can kind of see the swamp, and there's power lines above. Once I reach that opening up area, you can see it on camera. It's one of my first Randonautica videos I did there. It literally is. I was just like, I don't like it here at all. You know what I mean? I don't like the feelings I'm getting here. You know, you feel like you're being watched, like you're not alone, all that kind of stuff for sure. Like immediately. So when I first went there, that's the first thing I felt immediately. And I was like, and this is really early on in my investigating. So I didn't even have a spirit box yet. All I had was my word bank and just regular old EVP sessions and stuff like that. You know, because at this point, I was just really starting to do paranormal investigation. So it was like very bare bones.
Sure.
Yeah, but like the first time I went, I would say the vibes more than anything as soon as you get in there, for sure. And then
It's crazy.
yeah, right. It's it's weird. It's very strange, especially if you're there by yourself. You know, if you're there with
It's oppressive. Like it just feels
Yeah.
oppressive, man.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it feels that way in the majority of the swamp. Most of the locations I've been. I mean, there's different feelings on different sides and stuff, but after going so many times and getting so many like weird voices and EVPs and strange noises and stuff like that, like it definitely opens your eyes. And I think you were right when you were saying earlier about the paranormal. If you go to the right place, you can get paranormal evidence every single time. Now,
Sure.
if you go to a place that's one of these places that claims that they're haunted and then they don't end up being haunted, I think that's just as great too. You know what I mean? Because a video debunking a haunting is just as great as a video that is proving a haunting, you know? And I think a lot of people are afraid. I think this is where this comes from. I think a lot of people are afraid to be like, I don't know, this place isn't haunted. You know what I mean? So they kind of feel like they have to, not everybody, but the people that fake evidence, they feel like they have to do that, you know, in
for
order to get
sure.
clicks, watches, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because for them, I think it becomes less about the research, more about the clicks. You know, it's just the integrity gets lost. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, you are 100% right. That place is the moment you get in, and I'll say the swamp and the Freetown State Forest. Once you're walking down that roadway, that path that leads to the ledge, like that area to me and the swamp are the two areas that feel the creepiest. Like it's this instant heavy feeling. Like there's eyes all around you, and they're just kind of like coming closer and closer, and that oppression, you just feel down, like your mood can change. And you know, I mean, it's no wonder with all the stuff that's happened there. For those people who aren't familiar, like this place it's had a history of cryptid sightings, you know, Bigfoot. There was the cop who got his car lifted up supposedly when he was parked out there back in like the 70s, I think that was.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
And then, you know, there's been UFO sightings. The most famous was by the two news reporters where they saw that home plate shaped UFO in the sky.
Yeah, next to the dog track.
Yep, next to the dog track. Yep. You know, there's weird lights like orbs and strange lights like that. There's obviously the pukwudgie stuff, which is well, why don't you tell us what the pukwudgies are? Because you're like, I've watched a few videos on your channel about the pukwudgies, so you're sort of an expert on this.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, it's one of those ones. One of the cryptids I've like really focused in on this past year for sure. As far as like trying to go out there and gain evidence of their existence, trying to do investigations and research into like where they came from and stuff like that. But for those who don't know, a pukwudgie is a troll-like creature. I would say completely covered in hair, which is anywhere. It depends what report you see, but anywhere from 2 to 4 foot tall. I would say probably in the 3 to 3 foot tall range is probably about right. 3 to 4 foot tall. Now, like I said, completely covered in hair. They can reappear and disappear at will, which is kind of crazy and creepy to think about because they can be anywhere.
Yep.
they're kind of familiar to another small entity. But not only that, they've been known to play tricks on people. This is what about the pukwudgie I think is the most bizarre and strange is this part where they can either lead you to your doom or save you. You know, which I think is a very drastic, like I was saying this to someone else. I was like, I don't know if I want to take that chance. You know, like I speaking of, I asked in the Hucklebuck one time, I was like, it just came to my, just a thought to my head. I was like, let me ask, you know, pukwudgies. I'm thinking, all right, would they save me? Would they not save me? Would they try to kill me? I was like, would you, if I was in danger, if I was drowning, would you guys save me? And resounding, they said like things like, yeah, we love you. We definitely would. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, I wonder if they're actually just saying that or if they actually do mean that. You know what I mean? Right, like, yeah, go ahead, jump in. We'll save you. And then like
exactly.
And then like, that's not the case.
Yeah, throw you
like,
a
we got him, guys. He's dead.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, yeah. So
kind of like an abusive girlfriend. She's like, yes,
right.
Of course I love you. I'd
Yeah,
save you. Yeah. Build you up a little bit just to
tear you down. That's exactly it. So that's another weird part about them. Another part of them I think is very strange, which I haven't thought. I've only seen one reference to in one book, so I'm not 100% sure if this is even part of the legend or if something this is like kind of got picked up along the way. But there's a possibility they're like soul stealers, or can take souls and then reuse those souls to try to trick people to lead people to their doom or something like that. Not only that, they can do that with allegedly the swamp light thing too, where they appear as a bright light. And you're like, oh, what's that bright light? And so you follow it deeper into, and then all of a sudden you're lost. That kind of a thing. So that's basically what the pukwudgie is. Very interesting, whatchamacallit. And then as time's gone on, I've kind of figured out through evidence and then buying into this Native American book about Algonquins. And then I figured out the whole Mukaweesugs or Mikaweesugs, depending on the translation. And so then I'm like, oh man, because there's a lot of like legends and stuff I feel like kind of get jumbled up because of the King Philip War time period. There's a lot of tribes that kind of seems like they lost a little bit of their history or at least got jumbled up along the way because there is some similarities between those two entities and pukwudgies. And then the word pukwudgie is not even from Wampanoag. It's from another Algonquin tribe somewhere down in the Maryland area where I can't remember his name. Chief. I always get it wrong. It's either Red Snail or something like that. That's where he got the name pukwudgie. He got it from them because that's what they described it as, and that's where the name pukwudgie comes from. So it's not even clear that Wampanoags would have called them pukwudgie. You know, like, I don't know what Wampanoag, like ancient Wampanoags. I mean, I don't know if they would even call them pukwudgies necessarily because it's from Maryland. You know what I mean? But I mean, they're all Algonquin. So, but like you said, we were talking in text leading up to this. You're talking about how there even is like, I think we're talking about how there's so many differences between even the Mohegans and the Wampanoags who are a state away. And there's so many differences between the two that you're like, this seems like it's the same, but it's completely different. It's weird.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah. I was really like when I saw the Makiawisug thing on your page, I was like, oh my God, like this immediately I was like, I went to the museum, like spoke to the historians and about the Makiawisugs and obviously knew about the pukwudgies, and the similarities there to me instantly stood out. It was like, oh man, these things could be like, they're very similar. The Makiawisug, though, aren't described as being quite as like, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Evil,
drastically evil as the pukwudgies could be, right? On that 50-50 scale, either they're your best friend or they're your worst enemy. The Makiawisug are they're a little bit devious and they play some jokes or they mess with you a little bit, but they're probably not going to kill you, at least from everything I've read.
Yeah, they seem to be the nicer of the two for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and they talk about there's a story about what's her name, the Granny Squannet.
Yes, Squannet. Yep.
Yep. And it's a very interesting story, the whole thing. I'm not going to go into the whole thing now, but if you guys ever get a chance to check out both of those stories about the pukwudgies and the Makiawisug, look them up and see the parallels. It's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Which, yeah, that's what got my mind going, is because I kept on getting, during research, I kept on getting responses like, food, feed us, we're hungry, we're starving, like stuff like that. And I always thought, I was like, this is so weird. I don't understand why I'm getting these kind of responses. Because if they're people, I'm like, unless they're people that don't realize they're dead, then why would anybody be asking for food that's not alive? And so then I literally read that book and read the part of the Mukwudgies that says that the Wampanoags and Algonquins would, or other tribes, would leave baskets of food for them in the woods as like an offering or whatever. And so my mind automatically is like, oh my God, I think these responses could be from Mikwudgie type entities asking me to leave them food, just like the Algonquins did all those years ago. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So like
very
it,
possible.
yeah, and it makes you wonder. And it's like that's something I didn't even put together till I read the book, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe like I missed this." Because
Well,
it was right there.
but it's easy. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
instantly go to the most normal thing, and
Yeah.
food means like eating. Eating means living, and so why would these things want food? But for them, it's more of a ritualistic thing. It's like a respect thing. Give us this offering. Let us know that you respect us, and in our area here. And at least from my point of view, that's probably what it's for. I think it's very similar to like when you talk about people talk about giving offerings to like Sasquatch. I think it's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
obviously the Sasquatch eat, but I think more importantly than that is like you're showing them some sort of respect and extending a hand,
Yeah.
which probably means a lot to them and in their culture. Um, so so now you've been doing this for a few years in there. Do you? I know this is a very difficult question, but so do you believe that they are obviously not a flesh and blood type of thing, but do you believe that they are a real thing? Like they somehow exist, whether in a different plane or behind this veil? Do you think that they're actually a thing, or somebody just kind of made this up one day?
I think they are some sort of a thing. Now I'm leaning towards that they probably have some sort of spiritual powers or something.
Mm,
A lot like what people say about Bigfoot, the same sort of
yeah.
similar way, where they're either they're interdimensional, or I don't know where they're going when they're disappearing. When they've done this, they do this kind of stuff. So I don't know what happens with that. But all I know is I've gotten EVP responses and spirit box responses that have said pukwudgie. A one time particular, I was in the Huckamuck, and I just said it as a throwaway. So I'm walking down the pathway. I look over to my right, and I was like, I think I said, "Good morning, pukwudgies. How are you, my friends?" or something like that. Or where are you, my friends? And without skipping a beat, EVP here. And so they were literally right next to me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." So I mean, I've gotten evidence that points to them existing, at least voices and spirit box responses that say that they're them. Obviously, you have to take everything you get when it comes to EVPs and like that just with a grain of salt, because you don't know who the
Right.
hell is talking to you. You never know who's talking to you. But I mean, I've got enough responses to theorize that they probably do exist, kind of like in a Bigfoot way. That's what at least it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Now, that's also backed up by not my personal experience, but my uncle had a personal experience where he saw a pukwudgie.
What?
Yes. In the 1980s, actually, just outside the Triangle in Onset, Massachusetts, which is like the armpit of Massachusetts. Like if you're looking at like Cape Cod's right here, it's like right there, down there.
I don't. Probably the people at Onset are like, yeah, please don't call us the armpit.
Yeah, that's just the best way to describe it, because no one knows where it is. But yes, so my uncle did have a pukwudgie encounter. What's weird about that encounter is at the time he didn't know what a pukwudgie was. So when he described the creature, it looks exactly how, and described it exactly what a pukwudgie would look like. And
Really?
completely covered in hair, 3 to 4 foot tall, disappeared in front of his eyes, not once but twice, just like the legend says that they can do. So that's kind of like why I'm more apt to believe it than not, especially since I trust him. I know he wouldn't be like just making this up and lying to me, because we've experienced like paranormal things together. So I know that it's comes from a place of like, yeah, this actually happened. So
He
yeah,
wasn't.
dude,
Your
wild.
uncle wasn't in a documentary about the Bridgewater Triangle, was he?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. But I know that you're talking about the Bridgewater Triangle, right?
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? That guy has a great encounter story. I can't remember
It's
his
a
name.
yeah, it's a pretty crazy encounter with that
Oh,
little.
yeah,
I mean, it fits the pukwudgie thing. I mean, to a
yeah,
T.
yeah, absolutely.
That was a
So yeah,
great documentary, also.
absolutely, dude. It's what got me really interested in the Bridgewater Triangle, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
when I saw that documentary, I mean, I had heard about it like peripherally, Bridgewater Triangle, but nothing compared to when I watched that documentary. Then I'm like, oh my god, then that really piqued my interest because that came out, gosh, what,
Oh,
2015,
I think around there. Yeah.
2016? You know what I
Yep.
mean? So like it's a long time ago nowadays, but
Yeah. Kudos
yeah,
to Eric Aju. He's the one who made that documentary, and to this day, I think personally, it's my favorite of all the Bridgewater documentaries that have been done. That I think that was the best one yet.
yeah,
So
no, they did a fantastic job on that.
yeah,
Fantastic job. Like I said, it's what got me into, looking into this stuff for myself for sure. Laid the
yeah.
groundwork for that, at least Bridgewater Triangle specifically.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a element, a massive human element to this place that's really terrifying, right? So there's a history, a number of murders have occurred there. There's a cult activity. There were, I think, how many baby calves were slaughtered there? It was like
Quite a bit. I couldn't even
a
tell
lot.
you. A lot. Over the years, a lot. A
But there
lot.
was the one time where they found, like, I want to say there was like 20 of them
Yeah.
there at once, all dead in the woods with no blood left in them, all in this one area at the same time.
Mhm.
If it's not scary enough to think about people doing these sacrifices out there, my first question was like, how the hell did they get 20
Yeah.
baby cows into the woods without being seen,
Right.
and then drain them of their blood and perform these sacrifices or whatever? Like, that to me was even more paranormal than whatever came of that. It's like, how the hell they get them things back there?
Yeah. Logistically.
Also, yeah, also it must have cost a shit ton of money to buy all those cows. But anyway, now I'm just being an asshole. But so there's this human element out there that's terrifying. There was the Aruda girl who was tied to the tree after she'd been
Yeah.
kidnapped, and her head ended up severed.
Yeah.
Not because it was cut off, but because the being tied to the tree, she was leaning forward,
Yeah.
suffocated, and then over time it just cut through as the,
Yeah.
I know it's gross, but babies being murdered and left there, and like
Yeah.
when
The people jumping off the ledge,
jumping off the
committing
ledge.
suicide, multiple people.
Yeah, bodies being dumped in that quarry, like, who were
Yeah.
murdered and in the swamp, probably. I mean, you hear the cops
Mhm.
tell stories about there's probably bodies here that they'll never find. Like, it's,
Mhm.
when you go out there, does any of that enter your mind? Like, do you think, like, holy shit, like, there could be people coming here to do these nefarious things, like, and I'm out here alone.
Yeah. When it comes to the Freetown State Forest, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's like the darker of the two for sure. Huckamuck, you have a little bit of that stuff, but not nearly as much. It seems like I always go back to this because I was reading when I'm doing research on the triangle and stuff. I came across this. The Wampanoag said that evil dwelt in the Freetown State Forest,
Yes.
which I find super fascinating. So that tells me that evil's always been there, even
Yep.
when they were there. So that makes my mind think maybe evil is attracting other evil there. Whether that's, these people wanting to do evil things going there because evil's been done there, or this evil entity, darkness, whatever is there, like calling things to, people, darkness, and awful things to happen there because it loves it or, needs it or, whatever. But it definitely seems to be by far the darkest area. What's crazy to me is when I bring up the Freetown State Forest, 50% of the people are like, I would say 20% of the people are like, oh yeah, whatever, no big deal. Majority of the people are like, yeah, I probably wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
And then there's people that because it's a really beautiful state park, but you go there on a really nice day. I mean, you'll see people there, but it should be a lot busier than it is. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
No doubt about
100%.
that. No doubt
Yeah.
about that. And what's I think even crazier to me is that the people that are like, oh, why would you be afraid of the Freetown State Forest? And I was like, paranormal aside, I don't know, the murders. I don't like. What do
Yeah.
you think? Like, what do you
Yeah.
think? Like, just that alone should scare anybody off from wanting to go there.
The fact that there was the fact that that so many violent crimes were able to take place in there just tells you that there's so many places to go and do nefarious things in there and remain hidden from the rest of the world while you're doing them.
Yeah.
So that alone is just a terrifying thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and by far that it's definitely the darkest spot of the triangle for sure. I've only investigated the Freetown State Forest in 3 years. I've investigated it 3 times.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and that's for that reason because I don't like to go there all that often. You
No.
know, I'm not necessarily afraid of. I'm not afraid of ghosts and spirits or anything like that.
No.
I'm more afraid of people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'd be more apt
exactly.
to bring my gun there
Yeah, absolutely.
than anything. But that's just for people, not for any sort of animal or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, for me, when people talk to like ask about that, like, do you carry? I always carry. It's not for Bigfoot. It's not for the potential to run into another cryptid or paranormal. It's for people. It's number one before it's for people. If I run into a mountain lion or something and it's going to attack me, well then yeah, of course I'm going to defend myself. But that's not what I'm thinking when I bring my weapon with me. It's always people first.
Oh yeah.
So the number of things that have happened there, that they had that crazy underground bunker where there was like baby clothes and
and they never found out like what was happening there. No, they never found anything. So Lord knows what happened in there.
I know
nothing good. That's
definitely nothing good. Why would you build an underground bunker hidden away? I mean, it was, who knows how long it had been there before that one hunter came along. He had to walk the perfect path because it was on the back side of a hill. And normally, I guess the way they described it is like, if people would even be in that area, they would be on the other side of it. So somebody had to walk the perfect path and come around and see this thing built into the ground and into that hill. And otherwise nobody would ever found this thing. But a little wooden chair with rope and like to tie somebody, like, babe, it's just this. I mean, that to me, like, just the creepiest stuff ever.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the type of darkness that's at the Freetown State Forest.
And now, so getting back to that, you said something about evil attracting evil. This whole area was, there was a King Philip's War, which was a violent, bloody. It was a terrible, terrible time. There was terrible things done on both sides. The Algonquins, I think, cursed the land at one point. Correct?
As far as I know, I could never find out like if there's a if there is an actual like an actual documentation saying that. But that's one of the rumors, though. Yes.
Yeah, one of the. Yeah. So there was this. Oh God, what was the thing that they stole from the chief?
Oh, so you're talking. That would be the wampum belt.
Yes, the belt. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the wampum belt, basically, it was a couple different. There was the wampum belt, and then there was I think it was a necklace that it was like in the shape of a. Oh man, now I'm forgetting. But the wampum belt's the most important. So the wampum belt basically told the history of the Wampanoag people in a belt form. So when they said it, I think, what's his name? When Benjamin Church said that Anawan gave it to him, he put it around his neck, and he said that it almost reached the ground. So it's a pretty lengthy belt. So it's more of like I wouldn't say it's not like a belt. It's more of like a huge, and like wampum's like basically like little seashells. And so like that's what wampum is. And so it's basically like a studded belt with like a little seashells, and it would tell the history of their people and that sort of thing. So that was lost to history. No one knows what happened to it. It was allegedly Benjamin Church was the last known person to have it. He was allegedly supposed to send it to the Church of England, and the last that we know of, the Church of England reaches back out to the guy that was supposed to send it, and it was like, hey, where's the stuff that you said you were going to send? Yeah, I never got it. And so no one knows what really happened to the wampum belt after that, or the other pieces of the Wampanoag stuff. There was like 3 different things. The wampum belt was just one of them. But they were all having to do with their history of their tribe and stuff like that. So these are very significant pieces. Now,
Sure.
there's a couple different theories on what possibly could have happened. Now, one theory is either Benjamin Church himself or someone he knew took it to keep it safe, and or something like that, or somebody took it for themselves, or someone hid it. And then the other theory is it made it to England, but somewhere along the lines, what's it called? A museum could have ended up with it eventually. And then they didn't know what it was. And so they might have misclassified it as something else.
And wasn't there, like, to them, that belt held some sort of like power to them?
I'm not exactly sure if it held any like sort of spiritual power, but I know it's like it was a very significant, it was like, their whole history was on there. You know what I mean? So it's a very, this is something that was very important to them. So much so that when they lost the war, Anawan was giving it to Benjamin Church as like a prize. Be like, hey, this is according to Benjamin Church, of course. I mean, I believe him, but he was like, basically, hey, you guys defeated us. This is yours now. And basically gave it to him. And then, like I said, that's kind of where it gets lost to history. No one knows what happened to it. It's still lost to this day. I don't know.
It's so sad when things like that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I hate to sound like Indiana Jones. It belongs to the Wampanoag people, or it belongs in a museum. One or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And preferably
100%.
to the Wampanoag people, for sure.
Preferably, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
But
So getting back to this, like, you have these battles, you have tons of lives lost. It was the per capita, I think that war was the bloodiest battle on American soil per capita. Like a very large percentage of the whole population of the colony at that time was wiped out during this war. Like, so I mean that's a massive thing when you think about that. When you think about, like, yes, the Civil War, obviously, in numbers there were more people killed there, but when you talk about the percentage of people killed per capita, this was the worst. And there was a lot less people then too, obviously.
Yeah.
So you put all that together, you take the belt away, and then it's no wonder that there is this darkness that kind of permeates from the ground there. Marcus is saying something that I agree with. It's a stain on the land. To me, it's like, it's almost laughable to think about, like, there's in this area, the amount of, like, kind of evil places. There's a lot. You have the Bridgewater Triangle and everything in it. Up the road from there, you have the Lizzie Borden house. Up the road from there, you have the Conjuring house. Like, there's all of these places in this very small area when you compare it to the rest of the United States, of evil, of darkness, this terrible stuff. And so I believe fully that when you have all these events that happen over time, it does just leave a stain and a wound. And evil does attract more evil. Darkness attracts, darkness. Like attracts like. That's the way things are. It's the way things work in the world. And so, yeah, that Freetown State Forest is, to me, it's the scariest place I've ever walked into in my life, without anything happening at all, like minus any paranormal activity. Just walking in there, the feeling that you get is it's just so uncomfortable. And sometimes you wonder if it's like, is it because I know what happened there? Well, obviously that's part of it. But, like, I think we all understand when it's your brain doing it in your head, and then when it's something else. And I'm sure you've experienced that plenty of times in the places you've been. But anyway, sorry, I just went off on a tangent there. It's just, I love this area so much. It's so interesting because there's so many things going on. And you know, you were talking earlier about there are these places across the world that are kind of these like flap areas where this stuff, there's so much stuff going on. But so anyway, let's go back and talk about some more of your experiences while you've been there doing your investigations. I watched just briefly the video you just put out yesterday.
Yeah.
So what was going on when you were there yesterday? What were these voices that are reaching out from the swamp that were trying to talk to you when you were there?
So yeah, this was this was an interesting investigation this time in the Huckamuck, because when we went, it was right after this huge rainstorm. I mean, like massive rainstorm. So the areas in the swamp that I could normally access were inaccessible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, there was a lot of flooding, a lot of water like getting moved around. So going into it, Harry had mentioned, who I was with, that like, paranormal sometimes can get kicked up with water and stuff like that, or like fuel it even more. So while we were there, we're like, because where we were in that specific spot where we investigated, we couldn't really go anywhere but that one spot. That was the only spot we could go. So we just kind of stayed there the entire time. And then that's this spot particularly, I have got a couple EVPs there before. So I know it to be a place where I've gotten responses before, or at least spirits to be, or entities, wherever they are. So we're there and they start, I'm trying to think where I want to start with this. So over the past several months, I'll start with the title of the video. I've gotten the response minion, or I'm a minion, several times. I don't know who or what this minion is, or what they're trying to say, but they're just keep on telling me they're a minion. I'm a minion. So that's kind of strange. I'm still trying to figure out. Yeah, very, very strange. Obviously, minion of what? Obviously, minion, it's like something that's being used by something else, or so that's kind of weird when you get an aspect, because then that makes me think of what I told you before about the pukwudgies and this alleged, they can take people's souls and they can use them to trick people, blah blah blah, which kind of makes me think of the minion and stuff like that. So
Sure.
yeah, just something I think about, just because seems kind of odd. To have that kind of legend and then to get some sort of similar response like that, that's kind of strange.
Right.
But this time around, we got a lot of helps, which generally can happen in the Huckamuck Swamp. So we got a lot of helps. And then other than that, a lot of EVPs that like they were just like too quiet to actually understand, but there was just a lot of them throughout this entire video. And what I think is most interesting about the little trailer I put out, it's not even in there. Okay, I'll tell you something that's not even in there, because we talked about the wampum belt. I have to bring this up.
Okay.
So, Harry asked about the wampum belt while we were there, and he was asking like, it was lost to history. Just going over exactly what we just said. Like, it's been lost to history. Does anyone know where it is? So we catch an EVP. And you can't tell what this woman, it's a woman. You can't tell what she's saying, but she's definitely mumbling, blah, 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 blah. And then we have this new device. Well, I have this new device called the Ghost Bell. Are you guys familiar with the Ghost Bell? It just
came out. Bell?
Yeah.
Oh, it's it dings, right?
Yes. It's like literally a bell. So all that is just an EMF detector. That's all it is. And then obviously a bell. So you could make it go off by ringing the bell, or EMF will set it off and make it ring. So we're sitting there. He's asking about the wampum bell. We catch an EVP, a woman mumbling, and then the ghost bell goes off. Right as we're asking about, do you know where it is? Boom. And then I think the coolest EVP out of the whole trailer is, it didn't even make the trailer. It's just literally the woman says, because we're asking, hey, if you're here, we know you just made the ghost bell go off. Could you make it go off again to prove that you are really here? And what it sounds like to me is a woman mumbling, saying, I don't want to do that. Or I don't want to do it. And then the bell goes off immediately after the EVP ends.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot in this video. That comes out this Thursday. But like I said, most of the EVPs are just like, you can hear them, someone's talking, but like they're just they're just completely mumbled and just very, very strange. Don't know what to make of it. I don't know if someone's stopping them from talking, maybe this minion. I don't know, but something I gotta definitely like go back and ask some more questions specifically about the minion and these other souls that are there, because it definitely seems like there's a lot of people there reaching out for help.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think the Hockomock is the epicenter of activity in the triangle?
I would definitely call it the heart of the Bridgewater Triangle for sure. I mean, it's also the largest area.
Sure.
And the Wampanoag's called, for those who don't know, the Wampanoag's called, the word Hockomock literally translates to place where spirits dwell.
Yep.
So that tells me that it's always been haunted. It's always been a place where there's been ghosts and other entities or whatever they are there. So I think everything that's happened since then, the King Philip's War, all this other stuff is just added on to what was already there.
Sure.
Just kind of like we were talking about earlier about the evil, maybe not necessarily in Hockomock, but it definitely seems to be a place where ghost activity, they are either hanging out or there a lot. Now, I don't know how they're there, why they're there, or who's holding them there, or if they're there by their own free will, but they're there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been groups of people who've gone in there over the years chasing after all kinds of stuff. There was that one guy who said he had a Bigfoot encounter there. He saw it was on like the other side of the swamp and like on the shore, and then created a group to go hunt this thing down and try to kill it. And there were people who've claimed they've seen like the big black dogs in there or giant wolves. There was a lady last night, matter of fact, on Hellbent on their chat, and I was talking about the triangle and you coming on tonight, and a lady said that in 1979 she saw a giant timber wolf in the Hockomock Swamp there, and she's like, this was no coyote, this was a giant timber wolf, and not supposed to live there. So that's even strange. Like, it's like,
dude, and she's 100% right. I didn't get it on camera, but I have seen a gigantic wolf coyote, coy wolf, maybe like a hybrid between the two. But
Yep.
this thing was bigger than any other coyote I've ever seen in my life. And this thing was black, like jet black and like extremely fluffy. Like, it's like, that's the best way I can describe it. Like the fluffiest animal I've ever seen. Well, not any ever seen, but any coyote or wolf. Like it looked like a wolf. Like if you look up a black wolf online.
Yeah, they're very, the hair's puffed out.
Yes. That's exactly what it looked like. Exactly what it looked like. And I have another guy who told me about this spot in the Hockomock where I saw this animal. And once I posted the video being like, hey, I think I saw like a wolf out there. He was like, I've seen them too. And if there's like, he's like, there's at least 10 of them. And these things are like bigger than coyotes. I'm not sure exactly what they are, either a wolf or coy wolf kind of hybrid thing. But he's like, I've seen them before. And they're huge. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, oh, no joke. So yeah,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, isn't that wild? It's like, because that's one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, we don't have those here, and it's like, are you sure about that? It reminds me of Craig Robinson.
Yeah.
It's just like, are you sure about that? Like, I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but I mean, it's like, they claim that we don't have mountain lions here either, and I promise you, we have mountain lions here. Like that, you can't tell me no. I've seen tracks of these things in the state forest, like not bobcat. It doubles the size of a bobcat print, like at least doubles. Like these prints are huge.
That's crazy. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, me either. At this point, it's like, I think they just hide stuff from us for whatever reason. They don't want you to know. It doesn't make any sense to me why you wouldn't tell us about an animal. I get, you want to hide this kind of weird stuff from us because of whatever your agenda is, the government. But why would you hide an animal? Like, why wouldn't you let people know, like, yes, they're out there, protect yourself?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, you could be in danger. You know what I mean? Because a mountain lion is not something to mess with. Nor is a coy wolf or some sort of wolf hybrid. You know what I mean? Like,
wolves are a very, very vicious predator. And mountain lions they attack from behind. So, people going out of these places with their kids, it's like, why the hell are you hiding this shit? Why are you lying to people, telling them this stuff isn't out there? It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quick, Kaiju, what's up, buddy? I'm so happy to see you here, man. It's been a very long time. Really glad to see you back in the chat, man. I'm going to message you after this is over. I really just want to shoot you a quick message. But yeah, glad to see you. Sorry, just had to say that. So anyway, all right, give us you've got so many videos up there. I can't pick out like just a few, but over the course of your years there, why don't you just tell us some of the more compelling and exciting things that you've seen, heard, caught on tape, whatever, while you've been out there investigating?
I think one of the coolest experiences, well, like one of the most interesting experiences I had was in the Freetown State Forest. This happened like, oh man, probably like 6 months ago or something like that. So I'm out there. I do my whole investigation. I'm about to wrap up. I have this iPad that I record my secondary audio on, and kind of like my word bank and all that stuff. So sometimes by the time I get to the car, it's like the last thing I turn off. So I'm in the car, it's still recording. I'm sitting there and I'm just about to plug my phone into the car. And I don't know if a lot of people's cars are like this. When you plug your phone back into the little iPhone plug thing, it'll like, my car will pick up right up where I left off. Say if I was listening to a podcast or music, it'll just pick up right where I left off. So it starts to pick up right where I left off on a podcast. And so it starts to play and I'm not really thinking anything of it. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, through the speaker of the car, I hear a woman's voice that says, "Hey." Right? And so you may be thinking, that could be the podcast. Well, this podcast did not have any female people on it at all. It was just two guys. And so I knew it was just two guys. And so I'm like, oh my God. I was like, hold on. And so I saw my iPad was still recording. So I'm like, oh my God, I think I got it on audio at least. And so I get home, I go over the footage, and yeah, I did catch the EVP. So what I did is I made a video of, explaining what happened. I took a clip of the podcast and played it, the very clip that I have that I caught the voice on. And I've obviously in the real podcast, there's no female voice in there at all. It's just the two guys talking and they're doing their thing. And then I, obviously when on my recording, it's that same audio, but with a female voice that comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey," like what sounded like through the speakers of the car, which,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Super, super creepy too.
That's crazy. Okay. So I've only ever heard of that happening one other time.
Really?
Yeah, it was a very, very, very random episode of some YouTube channel. And here's the crazy part. Okay, so how things just show up on your feed in YouTube, like it's just they just show up. Like, so it was one of those days, and I was like scrolling through, and there was this like just a very dark looking like thumbnail with like a building in the background and a person, and title was like "Scary Night Staying Somewhere." And I was like, all right, cool, look, I'll just click on it. And these people weren't paranormal investigators. They were just people who like had heard about this place, and they figured they were just going to go and check it out and try their luck. And what had happened was, the place was kind of dilapidated. So some of the roof was missing, and it started raining, and they went back to the car. And as they were sitting in the car, they were kind of waiting for the rain to pass. And the guy was talking about something. And as he's talking about this person who is supposed to haunt this place, one of the people supposed to haunt this place, same thing happened. This voice came through the car speakers, and this, like, it was, there was nothing on the radio. They weren't listening to anything. This voice just came through, and I forgot exactly what it said. Maybe he may have said the name or something. And the whole car, like all four of them, just freaked, like lost their shit. Like, holy cow, I cannot believe this just happened. But that's the only time I've ever seen or heard of that happening. So it's crazy that it happened to you, because I don't think that's something that's very normal to occur.
No, I didn't think so either when it happened. I was like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Because just how loud it was, because it's like, it definitely goes over the sound of the podcast. You know what I mean? Because you can hear the guys talking and stuff in the recording. So yeah, dude, that was wild. I'll tell you about one more too. So I was in the Huckamuck, right? So I'm in the Huckamuck, and I'm over underneath this power station where I've gotten a lot of weird things, not EVP, strange noises in the woods that I can't
Makes
explain.
sense.
all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm underneath there. I'm doing a spirit box session. I'm with Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. I don't know if you know that podcast, but he's from Maine. He came down to investigate with me. So it's at night. We're in the Huckamuck together, and so we have the spirit box on, and through the spirit box we hear "Get out of the way" twice, like 2 times in a row. Like, get out of the way, get out of the way. And so I'm like, oh, what are we in the way of? And without skipping a beat, the spirit box says demon. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
hell no.
and I was like, oh, that's
Oh.
nice. And so Kevin, luckily for Kevin, he didn't hear that. So I didn't tell him. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna scare him on purpose, or like I'm just gonna let that go. And so we start using the spirit box some more. All of a sudden, unprovoked, in the spirit box, I hear like a knock on the door. Literally a knock on the door. That's what it sounded like. And I was like, did you just knock on the door? And then it responds and says, the door opened up. And
Get
then
the-
right, dude, wait, just wait. Right behind me, I hear like what sounds like, it sounds like to me someone walking a dog behind me on a leash, and like they're gonna come walking up behind me. That's what it sounded like, movement or someone walking up behind me. So of course it's middle of the Huckamuck Swamp at night. So I turn around real quick. There's no one there, of course. And Kevin's like, yeah, I heard that too. That was like shuffling or like someone moving around. And I'm like, yep, that definitely was. And I'm like,
No
that was
way.
terrifying. That was definitely an unsettling moment for sure. Especially
Wow.
the knock on the door, dude. The knock on the door.
That's
Like,
so
I don't care
weird.
what. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't care what radio station you listen to. You're probably not going to get a knock on the door. Like, that's weird.
To me, like, now you're going beyond even like it's one thing to talk and ask for responses to get voices. To have a noise like that, to me, is just so strange.
Yeah.
Like, how does that occur from the other side, or whatever, wherever this is coming from?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Right. I have no idea. And the knocking I've gotten twice in the Huckamuck Swamp. I got it like the week after as well. Very similar noise. Not the same exact knock, but a similar knock. But yeah, dude,
So
weird.
Weird. So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The only thing, like, the only problem I have with the paranormal stuff is like, you just don't know what you're gonna get, right? And I guess it's the same for any of this stuff. You don't know. It's like, I kind of make the joke that it's like fishing. You go out and you cast a bait to look for a bass, but if the bass aren't biting that day and they don't want shit to do with you, you ain't catching a bass that day. But maybe this giant sea monster just happens to like the bait that you're dangling in the water that day, and you're going to catch that sea monster instead, whether you like it or not.
Right.
That's what this is all like. You go out, we have our bait, right? Whatever that is, it's, for Bigfoot investigators, it's the same old tired song and dance for most people. It's let me knock on this tree, let me woo woo, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but for the paranormal people, it's this, it's this tech, it's this technology that's been, that's, come onto the scene and that's helped this stuff. Does it make you nervous? Like, when you're out there and you're reaching out to these things that maybe you might get an answer back that you're not really wanting, or something, maybe tries to attach itself to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's always like something that I always think about for sure. So when I go out, I always like try to say a couple prayers and stuff before I go and leave places to try to protect myself from that kind of stuff. So yeah, generally, I mean, it does get a bit unnerving for sure, especially, I mean, when you're with someone else, not so much, obviously, but when you're by yourself, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been many moments where I've heard something in the bushes or something and jump back and be like, oh my God, what's that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you're by yourself, any little bit of movement, you're like, that's not me. So who is that?
It's
You know what I
scary,
mean?
bro.
Well, more so like you said, either people or animals, not necessarily ghosts necessarily. Like, I'd probably least afraid of ghosts more than anything else. But yeah, like you said, just, you never know what's in that tree, or you never know what's in that bush,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So like that can be unnerving, or like, yeah, you hear some movement and you're like, all right, well, I'm just gonna pretend that I didn't hear that, and
Mhm.
keep on doing what I'm doing here, because that's definitely an animal, and I don't want anything to do with that animal. So
The problem is you don't know what kind of animal it is. You can't
that's the
see it.
problem.
That's the scary part, right?
That's the
It
problem.
could be a mouse. So listen, I've heard squirrels make a shit ton of noise,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then I've heard big deer walk really silently through the woods.
Yeah.
But when you're, like you said, when you're by yourself, everything is a giant, mountain
Mhm.
lion or monster in the woods. Like that's just the way your brain processes that stuff.
For sure. Absolutely.
What I think is great, and I read this in your bio, and I'd like you to touch on it a little bit, is your spiritual beliefs, right? The fact that you are a paranormal investigator, but you're also a man of faith, and those two things are kind of opposite for a lot of people. Like, if you're religious or spiritual or connected to, God and Jesus Christ and all that stuff, and then you're out there investigating the paranormal, some people would say, like, you can't do that. Like, that's not, but you, the way that you describe it is like, it helps you understand that there is this afterlife, and obviously you have your beliefs because of your faith, but it gives you another perspective on that afterlife too, bringing your faith to this to these investigations. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, because I think it's really great. I think it's interesting, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, you're definitely right. That's definitely like the most traditional view on like all of paranormal. As far as like from a Christian, like traditional Christian point of view, like everything's a demon, you shouldn't do anything,
Yeah.
that kind of like line of thinking. And so, like you said, exactly what is right. So I investigate the paranormal, and that strengthens my faith to me, because I know that these things, there are other things out there that exist, and within the Bible and everything that the Lord says and everything like that. And so there are good things out there, and there are bad things out there for sure as well. Now, and there's also a lot of unknowns too. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say that I know every single thing, or what happens to everyone when they die, or if everyone is a ghost, or because there's no one really knows until you actually get there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So for me, it's important to be upfront about like of my faith, because it's definitely something that I definitely think about a lot, and it's something that I put into my investigations. Like I ask people if they have prayer requests in my videos now, and ask them if I can help them in some sort of way and pray for them. Just like a way that I can reach out and help people. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's what I want to do, is help people. And doing my videos is a way like to help people to realize, hey, there is an afterlife. You know what I mean? And it's not just this world that we see and live here. There's a whole other spiritual side with dark entities, light entities that are, especially the dark ones. They don't like you very much. So it's important to realize that these things exist, because a lot of people will just leave, or like blind to it, or don't want to believe it, or because the majority of people don't believe in this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something that I've been obviously trying to like wrestle with it myself and trying to figure it all out. But yeah, no, it's been an interesting road for sure.
Yeah, I think it's great. I admittedly for a long time struggled with anything that had to do with religion or faith, right? And to be completely honest, like I'm not the greatest with it now, but I have at least gotten to this point where I do believe in God, right? I just had a hard time with organized religion, I think, with like some of the hypocrisy that comes along with a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on who you talk to, really. And talking to the right people about these things, you get different views, where like you talked about this traditionalist values of Christianity as far as the paranormal goes. It's all demons. If you're part of it, then you're bad. You're going against the beliefs of Jesus Christ and God and all that stuff. And like, if you talk to other people, they'll tell you, no, that's not true. Like, that's not the way this works. Like, you can do these things, you can investigate this stuff, and it doesn't mean you're going to burn in hell and all that stuff. So I think for anybody like who felt like me for a very long time, where like because I met the wrong people, I wasn't talking to the right people, it kind of pushed me away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
for anybody out there who's having those issues, like, you just have to find the right person who is not going to tell you, like, because you made a mistake, you're awful and you're going to burn in hell and you should be scared.
Right.
And so I think by people like yourself doing this, it's important in more ways than you understand, because when I see somebody who has that religious belief, who is spiritual like that and has faith, and they are doing something like this, makes me go, okay, wait a minute. I got to learn a little bit more about this, because what I've heard, you can't do this, and this guy's doing it, and he seems like a really great guy, and so let me open up a little bit more to it. So I think kudos to you for doing it, man. I think it's great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and that means a lot to me too, because like I even get flack from like
I bet.
from traditional Christian people for sure.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
you?
I bet.
Yep.
Yeah,
I believe it. I
I
believe
was
it.
raised in church. In fact, my father was a Baptist minister, and but he always said, there was a great gulf fixed, that the spirits couldn't come back to earth or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but then after talking to him for a while, he told me all these ghosts and things he'd seen in his childhood and everything, so he'd seen things too,
Right. Yeah. Things he couldn't explain. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's why we're all here, because we've, because of that exact thing. So yeah, no, it's definitely important for sure, and I appreciate it, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, man. No,
Yeah.
anytime. I was going to ask you, Dewey, actually, about, I don't think we've ever discussed that. Like, I don't think me and you have discussed your upbringing, and I didn't know that about you, Dewey. I had no idea that was how you were brought up, and that that you kind of had troubles with that. I still, like, my mom is a freak about the paranormal stuff, because she just assumes, like, if you go out asking for this stuff, that you're just going to come home with an attachment. Like, that's just the way it goes. And it's like, that's not how this works. The reality of this, Dewey, you can attest to this because you've done this for how long? How many times have you gone out and come home with some kind of negative attachment after 30 plus years of doing this?
I never have, as far as
Oh.
I know.
Okay. Phil, how
Or
many
not
times
know.
have you gone out and investigated and come home with some kind of demonic negative attachment?
Never.
Okay. So that's my point, right? Like, I think the sensationalism in a lot of the stuff that you see paints a picture that everything out there is a demon, and that's not how this shit works.
Right.
It's just not. I mean, they're out there. Of course they are. If there's good, there's evil.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that, like, everything out there in every paranormal incident, there's going to be a demon that's just going to jump on your back and ruin your life. That's just, that's not how it goes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask that question because, the climate today on YouTube, I'm sure, that most people know, is that every show is, demon caught on camera, the most horrible place in the world, right? I mean, I'm sure we've all
attachment.
yeah, attachment. I was attacked. I was attacked. I was
Yeah.
scratched. I was clawed. Like, that's just not. That's not the majority of this. Is not that.
No. Yeah, you're right.
But
Absolutely.
yeah. But what did Dewey praise on? Dewey praise, and so does your guest. To disease negative attachments. Wait, but Dewey praise, and so does your guest, to deceased negative attachments. Is that what you mean, Marcus? Am I reading that right? Yes. Praying is important, obviously. I think, I think even people who aren't like super religious, understand that, like, when you pray and you speak the name of Jesus Christ, that bad stuff doesn't like it. Like, I think people who aren't really religious people will agree that, like, they've seen that happen in action. You know what I'm saying? There's something to it. Whatever you believe that is, though, that's your belief. But there's something to it. when we go to the Freetown State Forest, the very first thing I do is pray before I get in that place. I will not go in there without saying a prayer. I will not.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude.
No,
Yeah,
it
we
just
do a
has.
prayer for protection before we ever go do an investigation, and before we leave, we'll do another one, you know, and we'll ask the entities, you know, to stay where they're at, don't follow us home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's worked as far as I know, and no, you know, hadn't brought anything home with me. And I usually carry my EMF detector with me, my K2 meter. If we go to the flea market or something, I'm going to buy something, I'll usually put it across top of it before I ever take it home.
That's not a bad idea.
Not a bad
You
idea.
can get a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah,
a
you
lot
stay
of
away
stuff.
from those haunted objects.
But like
Oh
these,
man.
my wife collects these Tiny Tears dolls, these old dolls from back in the 50s, you know, and every once in a while they'll have a party in my living room, you know, and they have woke me up at least once. I had to go in and tell them to be quiet where I could sleep, you know, and they quietened down. So it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I'd say so.
I think you might have just invented the newest thing in like in safe dating. I think, you know, when you meet a girl from now on, anyone out there, you should maybe take one of those EVP those EMF devices
detectors.
and wave it over her a little bit and see if anything happens.
Yeah, make sure
I'm
there's no
not
before you-
spells going your way.
before you bring her home.
I'm out of the market on looking for women.
Yeah, but you
I
might
got
be
the
onto
one on-
something for the rest of us, buddy.
Yeah,
you might have
that's
just
right.
Oh,
you
yeah.
might have just stumbled
Y'all could
upon
try it.
something.
Yeah.
That would work.
Oh, I always knew you were a genius. Oh man. Well, listen, dude. This has been great. We got to talk though. Like, we at some point, I got to come out with you, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. Open invitation. Open invitation.
I
Whenever
have
you're
to
ready.
get out there with you. I'm always ready. You let me know and I'll be there. Like
Hell yeah.
I was telling you, it's hard. Like I just, you know, my good friends, like I don't know if you know Alex Petikoff from Small Town Monsters. He's a good buddy, but he's so busy. Like he's constantly traveling and all that stuff. So it's hard to do things with him. We get like you know, a handful of times a year we really can get together. And so with Alex, that, you know, he lives 2.5 hours away, plus he's busy, so that's difficult. I don't have anyone here in like around me closely who does this stuff like this. And I love this stuff, man. I want to be out as often as possible and learn as much as possible. So if you ever want a partner, like I'm in, man. You just let me know.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll set up a time for sure, and we'll set something up concrete for sure, a day, whatever day, you know, works best for you, whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll hit them all. We'll hit all the spots, you know.
Is Kyle making friends? Yes.
Yeah.
You were talking about,
I have friends now.
I have a friend. Yay.
talking about pukwudgie earlier. My grandparents lived on a farm right outside of Springfield back in the early 60s, and probably a couple of 300 yards from the house was this. It was like a cave that came out of a side of a bluff, and it had water coming out of it, and there was always a bunch of watercress, you know, growing in the water. And my aunt used to go back there quite a bit, and she'd always come back and tell us that she went and talked to the leprechauns, you know, so there were leprechauns back there, you know, and she never would completely describe them, but I mean, you know, she always said they were leprechauns. I don't know what she was saying, and I always kind of thought she was kind of squirrely, you know, for saying something like that. But after I get to thinking about it now, maybe she wasn't as crazy as I thought she was.
Yeah, right. She's seeing pukwudgies back there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of cultures that believe in little people, whatever they are. You know, they have different looks depending on where you are. But so many cultures believe in little people. I'm an Irish man. I mean, you know, what more famous little people are there than the leprechauns? Like that's like everyone knows what a leprechaun is. And if you talk to people who literally like really lived in Ireland and grew up in Ireland, especially the older people, they'll swear to God on a Bible like they are real. You don't mess with them; they're real. And you know, Irish Catholics are you know, terrified of doing anything you know, against God. So if they're swearing on Bibles these things are real, then you know there's got to be something to it. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you being on the show. This was great. I had a great time talking to you. And you know, at some point in the future, we'll definitely have you back on. We could talk about some more of your adventures out there, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about something maybe we did together too.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I'm sure it'll be epic. That's for sure.
Absolutely, it will be.
Yeah, hell yeah.
My fall will be epic. It happens every time I'm out.
And I'll get it on camera.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah,
We got to
been
start
great.
a blooper reel.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
brother.
right,
Well,
been
thank
same
you
boat.
again, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll stay in touch, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday as usual, me and Dewey. And I don't know if I'm going out this weekend. I have no idea, but you know, keep your notification bell. Please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Most of you guys are already subscribed at this point, which I appreciate. I love you all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Good night. Peace.
Good night.